Mapping's not great on this lake. It's your basic DNR map. Little lake we've never been to. It's summertime. I'm looking offshore, especially in the north. I mean, these hard bottom spots, and it's anywhere in the country. The hard bottom spots, the fish really gravitate to them in the summer months. So we're kind of just looking around with the side scan, getting the lay of the land, and figuring out what this lake's got and where we need to focus our energy fishing. This is a pretty small lake. I mean, it's not going to take us long to go around this and kind of see the offshore stuff. I mean, obviously there's a lot of visual stuff on the shoreline, but like I said, it's summertime. Fish are going to get on the hard bottom, so that's kind of what we're looking for. And you can see this is all just mud out here, real soft return. And when we go over this bar, it just lights up. This is super hard bottom. You can see the rock and stuff going through here, and it kind of just, you know, looks like a big strip of rock. And I'm just going to lay waypoints all up and down it. And it's kind of hard to tell where the real sweet spots are until after we fish it. And you can see some bluegill beds and stuff along here, but we're just going to lay out waypoints all up and down this ridge so we got a good bearing of where it is. And it seems like a pretty big strip of rock, so we're probably going to have to, you know, fish moving baits to figure out where they are. Probably start out with a crankbait. We're just going to zigzag it a couple times and kind of lay it all out with waypoints from side scan onto my mapping, and then when I get up front, I'll have all those waypoints on my mapping unit, and we'll use the 360 and kind of try to make pinpoint casts of the better looking stuff and figure out where these fish are sitting. But definitely really pretty rock in here. Super, super hard bottom, nice little ridge. So you got composition change, depth change, and good structure. So it's kind of got everything you want. It's side imaging, something I couldn't do without. I mean, back when we were 2D and we were just looking for hard bottom, and now with side imaging, I can crank it out and really get a visual picture of what I'm looking at on the bottom versus just going off a, you know, a second echo or maybe a little rough bottom. It really puts into perspective when I can look at it on a screen and, you know, see the individual rocks and the hard to soft bottom transitions. And it's just crucial for finding fish fast. I mean, you know, these are kind of places that would take guys years to find. They might fish that lake a whole bunch and never know it was there. And now with side scan, I can, especially these smaller lakes, I can idle around out here for, you know, half hour and really get to see exactly what's on the bottom, how everything's laid out. Really makes it a lot easier when you get back up on the trolling motor and go fish it. You have a visual of what's down there, what it looks like. Just allows you to find these areas way faster. You know, I got her in pretty tight right now on the imaging, but I got it in mega. If I go down to 455, I can crank that image out to, I mean, in some places 200 feet on each side, so I'm doing a 400-foot swath over an area. And on a smaller lake, I mean, that's maybe 2-3 times up and down, and I got the whole bottom composition of the lake mapped out. When you go to mega imaging, it seems like you got to pull it in a little tighter. You get a lot crisper picture, and it's easier to see fish on the mega side imaging. But even the regular one, I can crank it way out, especially if you're looking for isolated stuff or grass lines, boulders, stuff like that. I can see it from a long distance, so I can really cover a ton of water versus, you know, traditional sonar. I have to drive right over it, so I'd have to be making passes every 15, 20 feet. With mega, I can do it every, you know, 150 feet and maybe a little more. And with 455, I can crank it out and do, you know, every 400 feet. So it really makes me way more efficient on the water versus, you know, a regular standard transducer. I think one more pass over this and we should have her about all laid out. I think that waypoint I marked there was the end of the rock, but we'll take a swipe over here to make sure we're not missing anything, and then go back over with the trolling motor and fish it all. Use the 360 to throw right to where the rocks are. And, you know, if you don't have 360, I can just reference these waypoints, sit off them a little ways and cast to them. Or if you do have 360, I can use it to really make super pinpoint casts to the good rock and stuff. But either way, without it, a guy would be able to just go after your waypoints and your side scan and still be able to fish this structure. There's a fish. Hit spot lock. And we just side scan all this. Been working up it quite a ways. Like I said, I kind of had to find the sweet spot with the bait. Throwing a DT10 here. It's like a decent fish. But yeah, we've kind of worked maybe halfway up that bar, just using the 360 to follow it, paired with the waypoints we laid side scanning. Yeah, nice little bass. Nothing big, but you know, I was able to cover that water really quick with this crankbait. That's a nice chunky bass. Instead of, you know, dragging something slow, this is, you know, unfamiliar water for us. So until you know the sweet spot, it's not really worth sitting there, you know, Nico rigging or drop shot. Nice healthy bass for sure. You know, we covered a lot of it, you know, almost a third of it real fast with a crankbait. Then as soon as I get a bite, just lock down on the spot lock. You know, we're out here in a little deeper water, too deep for the raptors, and you know, hopefully we're onto something. I don't know, that was the first bite we got, but definitely all of it looked good on side scan, but you know, I'd say the first quarter or third of it was fishless. You know, hopefully there's a few more here. Really being more efficient trying to find the sweet spots on these expansive rock deals. There's one. Yeah, now we found the sweet spot. We came down that, we got a pretty good ways down that rock bar. Caught one on a crankbait, I thought I was somewhere. Made a bunch more casts, nothing else. Then I threw out, I had one miss it, and then threw right back and got another bite. So I think we're actually on might have located one of the sweet spots. Not a great big one, but nice chunky bass. Crankbait really triggers fish. You can get a school fired up while on it. It catches singles really well. Not a great big fish, but that was 2 bites on back-to-back casts. So I'm just kind of learning this area. I'm thinking we're getting kind of closer to the sweet spot of where these fish are set up. And the crankbait is just so efficient on hard bottom. I can make long casts, I can fish it really fast, cover a ton of water, and it really triggers a lot of bites too. Fish that are biting will get it, fish that aren't biting will get it, especially fishing hard bottom where I'm, you know, bouncing off into rocks and oh my goodness, getting that bait to deflect, getting reaction strikes like that one right there. Popped it off a rock and he hit it, but didn't get it real good. But now I think we're getting close to, you know, maybe the sweet spot on this deal. That was 3 casts in a row with a bite. You know, I had that first bite down a little ways, but I threw back in there multiple times and never got anything. So I think that might have just been a random one, but definitely a few more right in this zone. Located some fish here on the DT10. Kind of quit biting for me, but I'm gonna good little cleanup bait. Finesse Tokyo rig. Got the little Nico Tokyo hook and just a big turd on there, PB&J. Pretty deadly little combo for picking off some fish. I mean, we've definitely found them with the crankbait, and now try to exploit them with the Nico Tokyo rig. I'm gonna fish this a lot like a Nico rig or like a Ned, just kind of shaking my slack, getting that worm to dance. Just a slower presentation. Use the crankbait to find them and got a few bites on that. Now we'll kind of pick the rest off on this. There's one. Decent fish. It didn't take long. First throw, switching baits. Got a couple on a crankbait, and the last one kind of missed it, so figured to make a little switch up. There it is. Looked really good too. Down deep. Just a little guy, but you know, the fish we wouldn't have got if we just kept cranking. So just a little different look, something fish we haven't really seen much of. Just tiny. Oh. Nice little chunk, hooked real good. Fishing on a 3/16. Can throw it really well and still got good bottom feel with that sinker positioned where it's at, and then paired up with the Elastec, it's just kind of, you know, hovering right along the bottom. Really natural presentation, you know. You know, if they're eating bluegills and things of that nature, that's kind of the zone they live in. They're tight to the bottom, but not really on it like a jig or a shaky head or something like that. Just kind of in that same zone, and just a really natural finesse presentation. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we got one. Yeah, when you're fishing, you know, scratchy bottom like this, rock, and a lot of our places are getting full of zebra mussels. Just a mean one. Thought he was bigger. You know, a regular Ned head or a shaky head, you're going to deal with a lot of line wear and stuff like that. And having that wire and that sinker, really kind of protecting your line. You know, this is a finesse application, so I'm using fairly light line here. I got 10-pound line on there, and there's a little better one. Pretty fish, really pretty bass. Good and healthy, he's eating up. Not on these rocks, gorging on bluegills. I mean, awesome hooking percentage, landing percentage. Gets them really good, and I mean, can't really get them off. Just a beautiful bass. And that's what I was saying. The nice thing about that wire, that's nasty rock down there. If I was throwing something that was, you know, straight bottom contact, that line would be getting all cut up, zebra mussels and rock. And I can really throw this presentation into some really nasty stuff and still use a light line, which I think gets you more bites. But that wire's protecting all the bottom contact. I'm not getting scraped up, zeebed up, not cutting my line. My knot's still good. And I can fish it in, you know, really nasty cover and still use a light outfit. And another thing about this rig, I'm throwing a real subtle plastic. It's streamlined. This bait is, you know, very neutral bait. And then having that tungsten at the bottom of that Tokyo rig, when I'm shaking this bait along those rocks, it's clicking and clacking, sounding like a crawfish, and really attracts those bass over to it, disturbing the bottom, making, you know, the right amount of noise, and gets their interest peaked, and you know, they come over, then you got a nice little TRD sitting there, and they bite it like that. Just a nice one. I'm on the first one. Okay. Just a nice chunk. Boy, they're fat in here. Healthy fish. In the late summer in the North Country, these fish, you know, they're feeding up for fall. Really pretty fish. He's not big by any means, but they're built right. Nice and thick. Probably eating a lot of bluegills out on these rocks, and maybe a few crawfish, but really nice looking fish. We might have us one here. Yeah, we might have us one here. I didn't feel the bite either. That's kind of a good sign. Oh yeah, oh yeah. There we go, boys. Great biggin'. Yeah, that's crucial when you're spinning rod fishing. Any light line, a smooth drag's everything. From keeping hooks from tearing out to breaking line. You know, something that just keeps with their pace. There's no skipping a beat with a good drag. It won't lock up on you. And boy, is he thick. They're healthy bass in here. Yes, sir. Beautiful fish. Just thick. That's another nice thing about this Tokyo rig. I mean, hooking good. I'm in and out twice, like right in the corner. You couldn't pay that fish to come off. I don't know, barely get them off. Another nice thing about that, when you're re-rigging after you catch one, that's a beautiful fish. Nice thing about it with a regular drop shot, you know, they jump. That thing jumped like crazy out there. Your line just gets all wrapped up, twisted to the point of having to retie a lot of the times, and having that wire there on that Tokyo rig really prevents that. I just got to straighten out my worm, and I'm ready for action again. But beautiful bass. Just absolutely built. Nice fish. Begging. Yes, sir. I think we've kind of located the sweet spot now. We had a couple bites a little bit further down, worked up it a little further with a crankbait, and you know, had a couple bites on consecutive throws, and now we're picking them apart with the Nico Tokyo rig, and looks like, you know, we're pretty much catching them every cast here. I'm kind of fishing down my waypoints that I marked on my side scan. Had a bite, spot locked, and now I'll throw a waypoint in right where I'm sitting, and now when I come back, if I come back here fishing again, I can pull right up to that waypoint and kind of got the sweet spot all mapped out. Another nice fish. Well, that one has been a beautiful fish on Nico rig, but yeah, using them electronics, you can see it really good on the 360 right now. Sitting off the edge of the rocks, there's a few bluegill beds out here. They're probably picking off those fish as the summer goes. You can see real well here on the 360. I'm kind of off it a little bit. This is your mud transition. Here's the hard bottom. You can see the boulders up here. Got a series of bluegill beds. And bluegills will spawn all summer long, so that's a really good forage base for these bass sitting out on these rocks. They can kind of pick off those spawning bluegills as they please, and you know, we've been pretty efficient in, you know, finding a good spot and now finding the sweet spot with the crankbait, and you know, really exploiting them now with the Nico Tokyo rig and the big turd. Just having a lot of fun now. All made easy with the 360 and side scan. And now I can just kind of sit here one spot. I'm not messing with the trolling motor. We're locked down, and I got my 360. I know right dead ahead of us is the rocks. I can make, you know, good cast to them every time, and you know, really just kind of be super efficient on the water. You know, in a process of getting to a lake that we've never been to from start to catching them. I mean, less than an hour between side scan and mapping everything out, fishing through the area to now we've located the sweet spot, and now we're just having fun catching them. And in a really short period of time on an unfamiliar body of water. I mean, you can't do this without good electronics, and really just so efficient, you know. Nobody's got days on end to go out and find all this stuff, and now literally, you know, within an hour of being on a lake we'd never fished before, we're, you know, basically found a big school of largemouth and pretty much catching them at will. Not a great big one, but definitely a fun size. Having a blast. Yeah, and a real nice feature about the 360, I have the range rings on here, so that gives me a really good idea. My map is set at 90 feet, so the far edge is 90 feet, and each ring at this setting is 22 feet. So right here is 22. I can see the bluegill beds are just a little shy of 44 feet, and then the rock is basically 44 to 90 feet away from my boat, and just makes it a lot easier when you're trying to pinpoint casts and line stuff up. I know exactly how far away I am from whatever key piece of structure or whatever it may be, and it just it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to hit these little sweet spots and pinpoint casts. I got a real good reference for distance from the boat using those range rings.